There is a fleeting moment before every action, before you speak a word, make a decision, or react to something that bothers you. That moment is so brief, most of us don't even notice it. Yet in that sliver of time, you have a choice: to react impulsively or to respond with reason. The difference between the wise and the impulsive lies not in circumstance, but in how they handle that moment. Stoic philosophy teaches that emotions are signals, not commands. Just because someone offends you doesn't mean you must feel anger. Just because a plan fails doesn't mean you must fall into despair. You can choose to respond with calm, with clarity, and in alignment with the person you aspire to be. And training your mind to do that isn't theory. It's a way of life, a daily discipline, so that instead of being ruled by circumstance, you begin to rule yourself. 1. The space between stimulus and response. Each day, we encounter countless situations that can unsettle the mind. A tactless comment, a poorly timed phone call, a mishap that disrupts our plans. These situations are, in essence, stimuli. They do not yet define how you will respond. But more often than not, we fail to see this. Our reactions come too fast, like a spring snapping back, like a well-worn habit buried deep in the brain. We act on impulse, only to later realize we've said things we shouldn't have, done things we regret, when it's already too late. But it is in that fleeting moment between stimulus and response, a thin but very real space, that your true strength resides. The Stoics called this the space of choice. They believed that no matter the circumstance, you always retain the power to choose your response. And this power to choose is the foundation of inner freedom. Viktor Frankl, a doctor who survived the concentration camps, once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." The Stoics lived by this truth thousands of years before. That space does not exist without training. In an untrained mind, reaction is nearly automatic. Someone insults you, you get angry. A plan falls apart, you become frustrated. You're stuck in traffic, and you lash out. The mind reacts instantly because it hasn't been conditioned to pause. But if you train your awareness, if you learn to observe yourself in the moment emotion rises, you'll begin to stretch that space. A few breaths, a single internal question. That's all it takes to turn instinctive reaction into intentional response. The Stoics did not deny emotion. They never taught you to become a numb machine. What they taught was this: don't let emotion drive behavior. Don't let anger dictate your words. Don't let fear guide your choices. Let reason stand between feeling and action, like a gatekeeper who knows exactly what they're doing. When someone wounds you, your instinct may be to strike back. But if you can pause and ask, where does this reaction lead me? Is it truly necessary? You reclaim your agency from your emotions. One practical way to build this habit is the 5-breath rule. When emotions rise, instead of reacting, stop and take 5 slow, deep breaths. This not only calms the nervous system, but creates space for clarity. Within those 5 breaths, you can ask, does this response serve my long-term goals? Or is it just a short-term impulse I'll regret later? If you're honest, the answer will often guide you to a better path, calmer, wiser, and reflective of character, not instinct. The space between stimulus and response is also where character is revealed. The undisciplined act on impulse. The disciplined respond with calm and care. The Stoics believed, you are not what happens to you. You are how you respond to what happens. It is not the external world that defines your dignity, but the actions you choose in the face of it. And every time you choose response over reaction, you are rewriting your character, line by line, day by day. 2. Emotions are signals, not commands. One of the most common misunderstandings about Stoicism is the belief that Stoics must be emotionless, forbidden from sadness, anger, or worry. But the truth is quite the opposite. Stoics do not deny the existence of emotion, nor do they try to suppress it. They simply see emotions as a natural part of being human. Like the weather, passing, often unpredictable, and certainly not something to obey without question. Emotions are signals, inner notifications, but not guides for action. We often treat emotions as if they were absolute truths. When angry, we feel justified in lashing out. When afraid, we believe disaster is near. When sad, we think life is against us. But the Stoics taught that emotion is not reality. It's just your inner response to an event. And crucially, between that emotional reaction and the action you take, lies your control. Emotions may reveal what's happening inside you, but they do not compel you to act. Think of emotions like dashboard lights in a car. When a red light appears, it signals that something needs attention, but you don't slam the gas just because the light came on. Instead, you stop, investigate, and act only when you understand the issue. Emotions work the same way. Anger might indicate a boundary was crossed. Anxiety might signal lack of preparation. Sadness might point to something that needs healing. But whether or not you act rashly on that emotion, that is a choice. Stoics train themselves in a vital skill to separate emotion from action. When a feeling arises, they do not act immediately. They observe it, name it, understand why it came, and ask, should I act on this feeling? Would that action align with reason and virtue? This doesn't mean they suppress emotion. It means they let reason lead. Like a rider holding the reins of a wild horse, neither yanking nor letting go. They steer it where they choose to go. A powerful method to practice this is to ask questions when emotions arise. Where is this feeling coming from? What is it trying to tell me? Is it accurate? And most importantly, must I act on it? These questions open up a space of awareness, where you are no longer a victim dragged by emotional tides, but a person standing on shore, watching the waves, choosing when and how to step in. Stoics do not run from pain, but they don't let pain dictate their worth. They don't reject anger, but they won't let it cloud their reason. They feel every emotion fully, yet still hold the freedom to choose their response. They understand that if you act on every feeling, you are merely a reflex machine. But if you can feel without being ruled by what you feel, you are living as a conscious, moral human being. True strength lies not in feeling nothing, but in feeling everything and still choosing well. The Stoic lives with every emotion, but does not let those emotions define who they are. They let reason lead, like a general in command. And emotions are messengers, not masters. And it is in that distinction that they find peace amidst chaos and freedom in the fiercest storms of human life. 3. Training the mind through meditation and journaling. No steady mind is a matter of luck. Calmness, clarity, and the ability to respond rather than react are the results of deliberate and persistent training. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't wait for life to become easier. They prepared their inner world to face whatever might come. One of the essential tools they used to train the mind was meditation and journaling. Two seemingly simple practices that carry profound, transformative power. Meditation in Stoic philosophy is not a religious ritual or an escape from reality. It is the art of returning to oneself, of watching the moving mind without judgment. When you sit down, close your eyes and simply observe your breath or thoughts passing by. You create a quiet space in which to clearly perceive the unconscious impulses that often lead to rash reactions. Meditation brings you back to the present, to awareness, where you can see that emotions and thoughts are not truths. They are phenomena, and you have the right to choose how you respond to them. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius used moments of stillness to examine their inner lives. In meditations, he recorded honest dialogues with himself, questions, reminders, self-examinations, and commitments to virtue. This is the power of journaling, not to preserve memories, but to use as a mirror for the mind. When you write your thoughts, you are forced to slow down, arrange them, and face yourself honestly. And in that process, you begin to transform, not through theory, but through direct awareness. Journaling helps you recognize recurring behavioral patterns. When you tend to overreact, what triggers your loss of control, and whether those reactions were truly necessary. Over time, you not only understand yourself better, but also identify what needs improvement. This is the foundation of sustainable growth, not through drastic overnight change, but through steady observation and adjustment each day. The Stoics didn't seek perfection. They sought self-awareness and progress, one step at a time. When meditation and journaling are combined, you create a powerful cycle of reflection. Meditation helps you observe. Writing helps you analyze. Meditation brings stillness. Writing brings clarity. Meditation allows you to step back from mental chaos. Writing helps you sort through it and speak with it. Both are practices of mastering the inner life. Instead of letting emotions and thoughts control you, you learn to see through them and lead them with reason. There is no shortcut to training the mind. Just as muscles grow only through regular exercise, the mind becomes strong through the repetition of intentional acts. Each morning you spend 5 minutes meditating. Each evening you jot down a moment that unsettled you. You're building the foundation for inner resilience. These small acts, done consistently, lead to great change over time. Stoics don't wait until they lose control to seek calm. They prepare ahead, day by day, hour by hour. They understand that inner control comes from habit, not from hope. And meditation and journaling are two simple but powerful tools for beginning that journey. The journey of building a mind that is strong, clear, and free. 4. Delay reaction. Prioritize intentional response. In a world that moves at breakneck speed, where everything demands instant replies, from text messages to work pressures, the ability to delay reaction has become a rare and valuable trait. Most people today live dragged along by events, words, or sudden emotions, and they react like machines with no pause for thought. But the Stoic chooses a different path. They learn to slow down. not because they are weak, but because they understand that real strength lies in the ability to choose a right response over a hasty reaction. Reaction is automatic. When criticized, you want to retaliate. When plans fall apart, you want to blame. When rejected, you want to shrink or strike back. But response is different. A response is thoughtful, intentional, made after considering what is right, what is useful, and what aligns with the person you are striving to become. The difference between reaction and response is not the circumstance, but the pause. The pause that allows you to regain control of yourself. Stoics train this ability through practical techniques. One such method is the count to 5, or 5 breaths technique whenever strong emotions arise. Simply stop, inhale deeply, and exhale slowly 5 times. It sounds simple, but its power lies in pulling your mind out of autopilot and back into awareness. In those 5 breaths, you create a small space between emotion and action. And in that space, you reclaim the freedom to choose an intentional response. Just as someone holding a weapon doesn't need to use it, you don't need to react just because emotion urges you to. Delaying reaction is not a sign of weakness or surrender. On the contrary, it is a display of inner strength and maturity. It shows that you are not controlled by your environment, but that you are actively guiding yourself according to the principles you've chosen. A reaction might offer brief satisfaction, but an intentional response helps you live more aligned with your values and long-term goals. The Stoics also practiced a method called premeditatio malorum. Each morning, they imagined situations that might disturb their peace, an insult, a mishap, a disappointment. They did this not to worry or become pessimistic, but to prepare their mindset, so that when those things happened, they wouldn't be shocked or impulsive, but ready with a wise response. This is a deeper form of delaying reaction, not just pausing in the moment, but preparing beforehand for a measured response. Prioritizing intentional response also requires a clear internal code. Stoics don't make snap decisions based on emotion, but ask, is this reasonable? Does it reflect virtue? Will this action benefit myself and others in the long run? When you live by these questions, your responses become an extension of your character, not mere expressions of fleeting emotion. 5. Change your perspective to change your response. We don't react to events. We react to the way we interpret them. This is a core principle of Stoicism. The same situation can enrage one person, yet leave another calm. The same words can wound one individual, but make another laugh or simply shrug them off. Where does the difference lie? Not in the event, but in perception. And if perception can be trained, then so can our response. That is the power of adjusting perspective. Stoics believed that all things are neutral, neither good nor bad. It is our labeling of events that determines the emotions and actions that follow. When criticized, you can see it as a personal attack, or as a chance to test your patience and self-respect. When plans are delayed, you can see it as failure, or as extra time to better prepare. Reframing a situation in a more rational and constructive way is a powerful tool for transforming emotion and regaining control of your response. One of the Stoics' regular practices was the view from above. They imagined themselves observing life from a great height, as if you were looking at your entire existence from above the earth. When you do this, the things that anger you today suddenly seem small in the larger picture. A workplace conflict, a minor mistake, or an inconvenient schedule shift all shrink in significance when placed within the full timeline of your life. This doesn't make the problem disappear, but it helps you detach from it, and that makes it easier to respond with reason. The ability to shift perspective is not self-deception. It is the ability to choose the most effective and useful approach to any situation. Stoics don't tell you to paint reality in bright colors, but they don't encourage you to stare only at the darkness either. They choose to look at reality as it is, then actively reinterpret it in ways that serve virtue, calmness, patience, courage, compassion. If you can see failure as a lesson, insult as a chance to practice silence, or a bad day as a test of resolve, you've already turned adversity into a tool for growth. Perspective shifts also apply to how we view others. When someone behaves poorly, instead of labeling them as bad, the Stoic asks, are they in pain? Are they ignorant? Have I ever acted the same way? This compassionate and realistic view is not meant to excuse bad behavior, but to prevent you from being pulled into impulsive reactions. You can uphold boundaries, respond firmly, yet still maintain compassion and composure. That is only possible when you've learned how to adjust your perspective. Changing your perspective is a skill that requires constant practice. Every day, when something irritates you, try to look at it in 3 ways: through a positive lens, a neutral one, and a humorous one. By doing this, you expand your perceptual range, break old reactive patterns, and create new options. Your emotions no longer repeat by habit, but become signals to observe and opportunities to respond wisely. 6. Discipline is the foundation of inner freedom. We often think of freedom as the ability to do whatever we want, whenever we want. But the Stoics saw freedom in a completely different light. They believed that true freedom doesn't come from obeying every desire. It comes from mastering those desires. A person who can't resist a craving, can't stay silent when angry, can't persist when bored. That person is not free. They are a slave to emotion, to appetite, to circumstance. And the only way to break that bondage is through discipline. Discipline, in Stoic philosophy, is not rigid self-denial. It is the voluntary commitment to a set of values chosen through reason. It means knowing what is right, what is necessary, what is noble, and choosing to live by that, even when emotions or circumstances try to pull you in another direction. Discipline doesn't confine you. It frees you from the chaos of your emotions. It helps you stay the course when life gets uncertain, stay grounded when things fall apart, and stay calm when nothing goes your way. The Stoics practiced discipline in small but persistent ways. They built habits of rising early, eating moderately, enduring cold, walking in silence, or refusing unnecessary comforts. Not to punish themselves, but to remind themselves they could live without ease or luxury and still be decent and strong. These voluntary hardships train the mind with a vital message. You don't depend on external things to stay steady inside. An undisciplined mind reacts emotionally. It gets distracted easily, angers quickly, grows lazy, and falls into compromise. But a mind trained through small daily disciplines develops the strength to resist temptation, endure pain, and stay calm in the face of collapse. Discipline is the muscle of the inner life. It doesn't appear overnight, but with every intentional act, With every time you choose what is right over what is easy, it grows stronger. Discipline also saves mental energy. When you've built a clear schedule, a clear set of principles, you no longer need to make every decision from scratch. You don't have to ask whether to exercise, whether to hold your tongue when provoked, or whether to keep working when bored. The answers are built into your framework, and that consistency, that structure, is the best environment for real freedom to flourish. Not freedom to do anything, but freedom to do what's right, even when it's hard. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "No one is free who has not mastered himself." That's a reminder that discipline is not punishment. It's a tool that frees you from inner chaos. When you live with discipline, you no longer chase emotions, no longer wage war against yourself. You know what must be done, and you do it. Not out of force, but by choice. And in that choice, you discover a quiet peace, a kind of freedom no one can take from you. 7. Inner dialogue is the foundation of wise response. The way you speak to yourself silently shapes how you respond to the world. What you whisper in your mind each day, though no one hears it, becomes the foundation for your emotions, choices, and actions. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that if you want to live calmly and respond wisely to life's events, you must first gain mastery over the inner dialogue constantly running through your mind. Inner dialogue is the quiet voice you use to interpret every event in life. When someone criticizes you, you might think, "I'm such a failure, they're right." Or you might think, "This is a chance to test my patience and steadiness." When work goes poorly, you might say, "Why am I always unlucky?" Or you might reframe it as, "This is a challenge to strengthen my resilience." The way you choose to speak to yourself is what creates the difference between an impulsive reaction and an intentional response. The Stoics often used questions to interrupt their inner dialogue, like a teacher guiding themselves toward clearer thinking. They would ask, "Is this within my control? Is this reaction in line with reason? Does this action reflect virtue?" These questions are not only tools for calming the mind, but also benchmarks for right response instead of emotional reaction. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, left behind the clearest example of inner dialogue through his meditations. It wasn't a book written for others, but personal journal entries. Reminders to keep his reason amid power, to keep his kindness amid betrayal, and to keep his self-control amid chaos. He used words to reshape thought, soothe emotion, and return to his moral compass. This is inner dialogue at its highest form, a practice of steady, profound, and mindful self-training. A helpful habit to cultivate positive inner dialogue is to journal daily. It doesn't need to be long, just a few lines asking, "What unsettled me today? How did I react? How do I want to respond next time to stay true to myself?" When you write this down, you step outside the emotional swirl and bring reason back to the helm. Writing is an act of looking straight at the mind and clarifying what is still murky. Inner dialogue is also where you train compassion and self-understanding. When you make a mistake, instead of saying, "I'm terrible," you might say, "I was wrong, but I can learn from this." How you speak to yourself in moments of weakness determines how quickly you rise and whether you walk forward with resolve or stay trapped in self-blame. The Stoic doesn't lie to themselves, but neither do they abuse themselves. They choose an inner voice that is honest, firm, yet full of compassion. When you train your inner dialogue, you'll find that you no longer react automatically to every external trigger. The words in your head become a filter, where emotion is recognized, reason is activated, and action is chosen with care. You'll know when to stay silent, when to speak, when to step back, and when to step up. It all begins with the words you silently speak to yourself. 8. Don't cling to what you cannot control. One of the most liberating and essential principles in Stoicism is the clear distinction between what we can control and what we cannot. The Stoics believed that human suffering doesn't come from events themselves, but from our attempt to control what lies beyond our reach. When you cling to outcomes, to other people's reactions, to the weather, the market, to luck, or the past, you're handing your peace over to forces you don't govern. And once you do that, you allow the outer world to dominate your inner mind. The Stoics didn't deny that uncertain things matter. They simply chose to release their attachment to them. They understood that you cannot force someone to love you, cannot guarantee your plans will succeed, cannot make life unfold according to your desires. But you can control how you respond, how you act, and which values you choose to live by. It is by focusing on your part and letting go of the rest that they found a calm many pursue their entire lives yet never attain. A core practice in Stoicism is to divide any problem into two columns: within my control and outside my control. When something frustrates you, pause and ask, is this within my control? If yes, act with reason and responsibility. If not, let it go, like dropping a stone that has cut your hand from gripping it too tightly. Letting go is not neglect. It is the choice to preserve your inner peace, to reserve energy for the life you actually can influence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What happens doesn't harm you. It's your judgment of it that causes the pain." When you cling to what you cannot control, you're not only misjudging reality, you're placing yourself in the role of a victim. You blame the bad weather, get upset when others don't understand you, worry over results that haven't arrived. Yet none of these reactions change reality. All they change is the quality of your inner life. Sadly, for the worse. Inner freedom begins when you learn to step back from the unpredictable flow of life and realize most of what causes your worry, anger, or disappointment lies beyond your control. You cannot control who loves or hates you, who praises or criticizes you, who keeps promises or betrays them. You cannot control the flow of the world, but you can always control your response, your character, your actions. That is the territory most worth guarding. The Stoic doesn't live passively. They still act, strive, and give their best to their work and ideals. But they act from a place of release, not attached to the result, not swept away by things beyond reach. They do their part with clarity, then accept the rest with calm. And it is this union of intentional action and wise detachment that creates a life both active and at peace. If you want your mind to be free, learn to release what doesn't belong to you. Don't let your happiness depend on someone's approval or the direction of events. Let it come from within, from clarity in discernment, from humility in acceptance, and from the resolve to invest only in what you truly control. Yourself. To me, training the mind to respond rather than react is not some lofty ideal. It is a necessary habit for staying grounded in a turbulent world. I used to think that staying silent or pausing in the face of discomfort was a sign of weakness. But the more I experienced, the more I realized it's a sign of maturity and inner strength. When I learned to stop, observe my emotions, and ask myself what truly matters, I began to break free from the cycle of impulsive reactions that had often led to regret. Tools like journaling, meditation, or simply asking myself the right questions have helped me slow down but live more deeply. And though I don't always respond perfectly, every time I choose reason over impulse, I feel closer to true freedom. Freedom within my own mind and actions. If you found value in the insights shared in this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next content. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope that from today forward, you will step into life not like a leaf blown by the wind, but like someone steering their own course, steady, calm, and free. See you in the next video.